Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. Today's episode we're going to be running through our round 2 team lists. Got round 1 done and dusted in the bag. For us, we had a pretty decent round, scored 1,296 points. So as far as round 1 scores go, that's absolutely unreal. I think that's probably one of the highest round 1s we've ever seen in Supercoach history with that sort of stuff. 1,296 in round 1 sits us in 13,398 spots. Look, I'm heaps happy with that. Last year, I was ranked 80,000th in the first round, and by mid-season, I got myself to 59th. So, starting at 13,000th on last year's efforts, I think I've got a bit of a jump on myself. For the 40-20 Cup, I'm 117th out of 650 people we've got in that now, just while we're on the 40-20 Cup. To enter that, our league code is 122-155. We've got the prizes for first, second, and third in that. First is $500, 2 is $250. Second is $250, and third is a merch pack there. To be eligible for that, you do need to be following us on Instagram or subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, we get through that. But yeah, other than that, round 1, like I said, just huge scores for that. It's pretty mind-boggling to see that usually you're struggling to get 1,000 points and people were getting 13, 14. I think the top score for the round was about 1,500 something, so really good stuff there. The points are coming in thick and fast, straight after the season bat. But anyway, we will get into it for the first game on Thursday. We'll run through the teams. It is the Newcastle Knights up against the Dolphins. We've got the back 7 for the Knights. They are the same. Ponga at the back, Schiller and Greg Marju on the wing. In the centres, we've got Dane Gagai and Bradman Best. In the halves, Sharp and Cogger. Left-hand side look really sharp. The use of Ponga as more of a 6 and using Sharp as a fullback in attack really worked well, but having Sharp as the 6 really had him dominated on the ball. He was just backing up everything. He was running like a madman. I thought he did his best work when they had broken play. I think Adam O'Brien's released the offload for the Knights, so they look pretty decent, and he looked quite dangerous. I think he's someone we're going to have a bit of a chat about coming into the season. He played really, really well, so he's probably not a decent option for super coaches at the moment, but he is playing very good football. His base is a little bit down for what we've seen out of the trials and in the round 1 game, but again, we will no doubt be looking at him later in the season if he continues his progress at the 6. Ponga with an 80-something, 88 I believe. He looks really good. No tries, no try assists, no try contributions, and still racked up 80-something points, so really good to see. For the rest of them there, Schiller was one to watch. He had 12 points in tackle bust, so he had 6 tackle busts on the weekend, ran for 164 metres. We need to keep a little eye on him, although he is quite heavily priced at the moment. In the forwards, Safidi and Leo Thompson up the front row. Leo Thompson with 60 points. Looked really good, got 55 minutes, ran for 100-something plus metres, basically did all that in base. So, again, another option maybe just for round 1, but he looks quite good as well. Phoenix Crossland, he looked really good. Look, I know this might be a little bit biased because I'm a Newcastle supporter, but look, I quite like the look of him. I think if you're looking to upgrade one of your very, very short-handed, cheapy hookers, there's a couple of them going around at the moment. He's 341k. He's dual halfback hooker. He just needs to keep on the field and keep going into the 13 like he did. So Tyson Frizzell had a breather and then Phoenix come in as the 13. If he can do that, he racked up nearly 50 tackles. So the base alone in tackles is really good. Dylan Lucas looked phenomenal on the left-hand edge. Got through a mountain of work. Nice little line break, try contribution with a quick play the ball. Got the 70-odd points there for Dylan Lucas, so he looks really good. I think having him down in your CTWs, he was well worth it in round 1 to pay up for that price. For the bench, Brayley, Hetherington, Adam Elliott comes back into there, and Matty Croker. Not a lot going on with that interchange. I thought the interchange was quite poor last year. For the Dolphins, they are 1-7, the same, except Cody Nikorima comes in for O'Sullivan. They are Hammer at the fullback, Jermaine Asako and Junior Tupu on the wings, Jake Avarillo and Herbie Farnworth in the centres, Cody Nikorima, Isaiah Katoa in the half position. Looked really good from Herbie Farnworth, I thought. He actually based 65 points last game. We own him. We were a little bit gutted that he didn't get a line break try assist for his contribution to the Osako try, which I think madness. Like, I cannot believe that he didn't get that. O'Sullivan kicked the ball into friggin' Jai Arrow's blurter twice and then somehow got the try assist. But anyway, we'll run with that. Herbie Farnworth looks pretty like a decent option. Junior Tupu, I think people are sort of circling him as maybe an option. I'm not sure when Bostock is back, so maybe keep an eye on that. Did do an MCL in the trials, but still, he looks like he may be on the comeback quite shortly. For the forwards there, Daniel Safidi, just touching on that, Daniel Safidi, Jacob Safidi will be the first ever time they've played against each other. That'll be an interesting one there, Mac Jones. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure there'll be nipple cripples and hair pulling and teeth gouging, everything in that, with those two boys just mucking around in the front row. It'll be good to see them two go hammer and tong at each other. Jeremy Marshall King's the 9, Felice Kafusi, Oren Keeley, he jumps in for Fini Fuiaki. I wouldn't be looking too hard into Oren Keeley. He may slot into a bench role from now on, although Fini Fuiaki, he looked really good, got 45 points in 50 minutes, so come off, obviously failed the HIA, so we can't go with him. I think Keeley will just be in there for the week, and Fini Fuiaki will come back and he'll slot straight into that back row position. Max Plath got 80-odd points. Real good option if you went with Max Plath in your hooker position. To be fair, if you got him in your 2R effort, that's really good as well. But he seems to be the number one option at hooker after round 1. It'll be interesting to see how he goes without scoring a try, though, for that hooking position. Tommy Gilbert basically based 64 points. Very impressive. He only had 55, 60 minutes, but still just got through a ton of work, 50-something tackles, ran all day. His aggression in the tackles was really good as well. He looks like he has not missed a beat. He'll only progress further and further throughout the year. I'm tipping his minutes will probably even increase from that. He may be looking at 65 minutes. He's 460k. If you're looking for an upgrade or a downgrade to someone, I think he's a very good buy option this week. Even though it is only round 2, I think you could probably jump the gun and grab him. He looks set and forget. He's got the captaincy role there at the Dolphins now, so looks every bit a champion there for that position. For the interchange, Kurt Donahue, Josh Kerr, Mark Nichols, and Ray Stone make up the extended bench there. For the first of the Friday night games, it is the Warriors up against the Manly Seagulls. For the Warriors, their back stays the same. A little bit cautious on our number 7 here, Luke Metcalf. Got the 12 last week in Vegas. It was 2 weeks ago anyway, but a lot of people are jumping off him. I wouldn't be doing that yet. I think there's a world where everyone's going to try and go from Luke Metcalf to AJ Brimson. I think that's smart money. I think AJ Brimson averages about 60-something at the 5'8 position, although word's still out on seeing how that halves combination goes there at Titans. We'll touch on them later. Luke Metcalf, yes, he just got the 12 last week. I think his break-even's only 71. So, look, it's not like it's dire straits at the moment. The thing that I was looking for Metcalf, he's 443k, he's duals as well, it's still nice. I don't know who you're going to downgrade to. There's Dewey there, but to downgrade him I think is a massive ask. I think if you're going to go Luke Metcalf, you've got to find money and you've got to upgrade him, and an AJ Brimson is probably the next person to go to, but I really want him to do well this week. I really want him to get 50-something points. If he can do that, if the coach can talk to him and say, mate, go back to your running game. He was very off that. Very hard for a first. He's basically still a rookie. Like he played a couple of games last year under Sean Johnson. They've given him the 7 jersey to lead the team around. I'm not sure if it was just the bright lights of Vegas that got into him. A lot of people are saying, that Vegas is this massive thing. It feels like a grand final. All these experienced players are coming out and saying that. So for a young guy, for his first game ever starting at halfback, I'm hoping the occasion got to him. He's going to be back in New Zealand this weekend. It does have tough opposition in Manly, but I think Luke Metcalf, I'm going to give him another week. I wouldn't panic. He is one of the most sold-out players. There's nearly 10,000 teams have got rid of him this week. I just think maybe everyone's jumping the gun, especially if you are going to an AJ Brimson, which is one of the more popular trades. Or the other popular trade is Ethan Strange. Now, he's coming up against the Broncos. He's got no Tarpanay, no Savage. I don't see him getting the 80-odd points that he got last week. So Luke Metcalf, just stay with him. Chance Nooker Clockstad at the back, Tane Tuapiki and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Those who got on a Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, good buying. 550k odd, something there for Rog. Just normal work for him. He's going to get the attacking stats now that he's planted on the left-hand wing. He's outside Chanel Harris-Tavita, who in the first game seemed to be the more dominant half out of the two of Metcalf and Harris-Tavita. So look, he looks really good out on that left-hand edge. I can't stir anyone away from going there. Ali Leotau, he was a little bit disappointing. Got the 33 for him, 33 odd. Look, stick with him. He's a big body. You knew what you're going to get. This week he may come up against a little bit easier opposition in Talatau Kula, although he is a very good defender. Still, he does leak a couple of points every now and again. The one we will touch on, Luke Metcalf is there. But like we were talking about, you probably can't go down to anyone. There is one man you can go down to, and it is Chanel Harris-Tavita. He's 330k, got a 51, 5'8 only. If it comes to it that Metcalf has a bit of a stinker and Chanel Harris-Tavita keeps that 6 jersey, there is Tamari Martin waiting in the wings. We can probably go down to him. For the forwards, Fisher Harris, Mitch Barnett, Kurt Capewell, Nia Cora, Aaron Clark, and Wade Egan is in the 9. Dill Walker, Jackson Ford, Dimitri Vaiamaga, and Halasima come in off the interchange. A lot of people going off Vaiamaga. Look, that's probably one that I can get my head around. Even if he got the minutes that Halasima got last time, it is only 21 minutes. Vaiamaga didn't even get that. He was in the teens for his minutes, about 16 minutes for the game. It's not enough. It probably shows what their rotation is going to be. They're going to use Aaron Clark, Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford a lot more than these other guys. So we've got to sort of readjust on that. I think if a lot of people didn't go Hubner, I think Vaiamaga to Hubner is a good value. They're basically the same. They're exactly the same, 230. There's also a Roosters fella we're going to have a little bit of a look at next week as well. Just want to touch on Wade Egan. I jumped on him very early in when I saw the team lists. I sort of jumped off him at the same time, but he looks really good, I think. I think I may have jumped the gun by going off him. He's 491k. He's in the hooking position. The issue that I had with Wade Egan was that I didn't think he was going to play 80 minutes because the bench role basically changed towards the end. Aaron Clark and Dylan Walker both started on the bench, so I thought, one of them's going to come on and chew up some hooker minutes. Turns out that wasn't the case. I put Aaron Clark and Dylan Walker on basically at the same time just to get the little bodies out there and more speed around the ruck. So Wade Egan, 491k. If you got on him, he got through a mountain of work. He nearly got 50 tackles alone. He's very crafty out of hooker. If you did end up going him, 491k, got the 40-odd points, he's going to get nearly 50 tackles a game. He's going to tackle his ass off. He has got attacking upside. We all know that. He just needs to stay fit. He's got Fisher Harris, Mitch Barnett as his front rowers. There's still attacking opportunities for him out of dummy half. I would not get off him either. For the Sea Eagles, look, they had an absolute blinder last week against the Cowboys. That side has got attacking opportunities everywhere in that back line, as well as their forward pack as well. For them, they are 1-7. Again, Tom Trebojevic at the fullback. Jason Saab is on the wing with Lehigh Hopewade on the centres. Talatau Kula and Ruben Garrick in the halves. Lukey Brooks and Daly Cherry Evans. Daly Cherry Evans had an absolute monster of a game. Look, I wouldn't be shuffling Hines or Cleary for him. I think there's a couple of trades out there that people are doing that. He is a bit more value there at the price range, but again, I don't think I'd be starting one of the other two over him. I think he's a decent option and he's got a really good start to the season. The next couple of games after the trip across the ditch, they are playing at Four Pines, but again, I would not be jumping off him. The Cowboys were poor. The Cowboys were very poor. I don't think they're going to get the same sort of run against the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to have a little bit of a bounce back. It'll be sold out there at Mount Start Stadium for the Warriors anyway. So I would be steering clear of Daly Cherry Evans, although I do think he is good value. I just don't think it's worth the trade to jump over. Tommy Trbojevic, he's every chance to be a captaincy option every single week. He is quite early in the round. I would be looking at a vice captaincy loop on Tommy. Or you could go captain on Tommy and a vice captaincy on Ponga being the Thursday game as well. For the forwards, Taniela Paseka, Jazz Tavaga, Josh Aloe, he comes into the starting squad. Hamal Olakawado, Ben Trebojevic and Jake Trebojevic rack out the 13. On the bench there for them, they have Jake Simpkin, Corey Waddell, Ethan Bullymore, and Tofafa Sipley. Look, I'm not exactly sure what happened to Toke Aho, but I'm guessing he had an injury because he lasted 25 minutes and then he came off and didn't come back on. They got Josh Aoshe, or however bloody Peter Volandis pronounced him, but Josh Alloway, he comes onto the starting side. They missed nothing there. Taniela Paseka was really good. He got a 71. We've sort of blown his trumpets up in draft about how good he is as a pick at front row forward. But again, that forward pack, not really much to go on there. They're all very meat and potatoes, apart from Hamal Olakwatu. Look, he is an absolute gun. I think if you could find space in your cap, I would get him in straight away. 665k. Some guys that, you could jump from a Preston to him, although Preston will get some attacking opportunities. He was a little bit disappointing, Preston, but again, Hamal Olakwatu, 665k. I really like the look of him. Especially on that right-hand edge. They got Cherry Evans there. Scored 100. There was a bit of a call out that for all his games and how well he did last year, he didn't get the 100, and he smashes out the 100 in round 1 of all things for this year. So look, he's a decent option. I think if you're going to go to someone in your 2 RFs and you're looking to buy someone, I think the news with the Titans, we'll get onto them soon. But Hamal Olakwatu, 665k, he's not exactly breaking the bank at that either. So he's a decent option. That's about all we got for them for the late Friday game. This could be an absolute cricket score. The Panthers up against the Roosters. The Roosters are decimated with injuries, let alone what their starting squad would look like even if they didn't have injuries. So they're looking very poor, the Roosters. The Panthers, they get a couple of troops back as well. For how good they looked in Vegas, they get their troops back. For the Panthers, 1-7, Dylan Edwards is in there. Casey McLean, he'll come back from his head knock. There's a world where you'd probably pick him up a little bit cheaper after his head knock game. He'll drop in price. He'll have a massive break even towards the round 3 sort of section. Brian Toto, he comes back from his hamstring injury and he's back from doing backflips in Las Vegas, so that's good to see. Isaac Targo, Paul Alamotti goes back into the centres. Jack Cole keeps the 6 and Nathan Cleary gets the 7. Not a lot that you wouldn't already know here from this. Brian Toto, I think, is a decent option. I think they are going to score a ton of points. It is just going to be who gets them. Casey McLean could be in for a big one. If you had him in round 1, do not look to offload him. I know he's about 440k, but again, I would not be looking at getting rid of him. 443k for Casey McLean. A bit of a disappointing start, but you got to roll with the punches. Sometimes you get these head knocks very, very early on, but he will be much better in this game, I reckon. I think there'll be points aplenty for him. He got the 4 in Vegas, so if you're looking for someone to downgrade to, potentially he could jump up there come round 3. So we'll keep an eye on him. Jack Cole in the 5'8 position as well. He's another one. Look, Blaze Talangi I was a little bit worried about. Blaze Talangi's not even named in the extended reserves. Brad Schneider is over the jump of him. So I'm not sure how Blaze Talangi went in New South Wales Cup last week, whether something's happened there. Whether it's just his defensive issues, he's just going to get a bit of a run in New South Wales Cup, get used to the Penrith system. I'm not sure, but Jack Cole, he sort of comes into contention a little bit more. Again, if you're looking to downgrade a Metcalf, he may be an option, although playing second fiddle to Nathan Cleary is always a bit of a hard one. He's 449k. For me, I don't think he's got a lot of upside in his game. He got 42 points last week, so again, he is a bit of a sit and wait. I mean, the Sharks are a good opposition. He may come out and get 100. He potentially, on that edge, he's got every chance to get that. On the left-hand edge have been carving up the Sydney Roosters' right-hand edge in the oppositions. The Knights did it, the Broncos did it, so Jack Cole could come out and get an absolute monster, and we could be looking at going a Metcalf to him as a bit of a sideways trade. But anyway, we will run with that. For the forwards, Moses Leota, Mitch Kenny, Lindsay Smith is one we want to touch on very, very shortly. Scott Sorensen, Liam Martin, and Isaiah Yeo. People who paid up for Isaiah Yeo handed tenfold, 90-something points there for Isaiah Yeo. Look, we want to touch on our main man, Lindsay Smith. Basically all in base. He looks phenomenal. We were sort of a bit worried about his his minutes per game. He got 55 minutes per game or 53 minutes per game on average last year. Got the 60 minutes basically in Vegas. He just looked really good. He could have got a lot more as well. He was about a bee's dick away from getting a try. He's 524k, so he is a little bit in that price range where it's a bit difficult to run to him straight away. Although if he keeps pumping out games like he did last week, he could be every bit a chance. 73 points, basically all in base. Like I said, Will Kennedy knocked the ball out of his hand as he had the hand over the try line. So again, I'm not saying there's attacking opportunities every single week, but there could be attacking opportunities there. But if he bases another game where it's up around the 70 mark, I think everyone is going to start flocking to him, and he's a decent option. Isaiah Yeo, again, people who paid up for him, well done. On the bench, Dane Laurie, Isaiah Papali'i, Matthew Eisenhuth, and Luke Gardner. He moves back to the bench rotation after being in the centres. Isaiah Papali'i, again, he was decent off the bench, but I wouldn't be going there. If you had him in your starting squad for some reason, I'd be looking to trade him out for someone. For the Roosters, James Tedesco, Daniel Tupu, Mark Nwanganitawaze, Robert Toya, and Dom Young are the back five. Sandon Smith and Townsend are in the halves there. Look, Chad Townsend, he looks well off the pace for as far as halves considered. That the gap between him and Robert Toya at the moment needs to really be fixed up. Quick, smart. Dom Young as well out on that wing there for the right-hand edge of the Roosters. Very good in attack, but defensively they were just super leaky. Gahamet Shibasaki, Reece Walsh, Ben Hunt, Arthur's running at that edge, just absolutely decimated. They really need to have a little look at how that's going to go. The worrying signs for, I believe, the man that probably drops out of Nwanganitawaze and Toya is probably Toya. Billy Smith named in the reserves at number 22, so he is every bit an option of coming back into this squad for this round. We need to watch that. In saying that, as bad as his defensive issues are, I think Robert Toya, I think he is a play. I would probably start him over the likes of Purdue. But again, I'm nervous with Billy Smith being on the bench. I think there's every chance that Robert Toya gets the flick just because of his defensive issues, and Billy Smith is a noted defender, although he does get injured quite a lot. He is a good defender. Nwanganitawaze, he got a 51, basically all in base and power. Seems a good option. James Tedesco, if you had jumped on him in the mid-40s at his price range of over 900k, probably look to move him on straight away, I think, with the Penrith Panthers game coming up. For the forwards, Lindsay Collin, Nofafua White, Connor Watson in the 9, Angus Crichton, Su'a Wong jumps in to the 12, and Salasi Foketi jumps in to the 13. On the bench, Zach Docker-Clay, Maheki Makasatoa, Blake Steep, and Taylor Lasalo jump on to that bench. Look, Angus Crichton was quite poor. Look, all these guys were pretty average last year. When you get beat by 50, you're not doing that great. Connor Watson, if you had him at the hooking position, I think it was fine. 50-something tackles for him, 55 points. That's a pass mark for him. Attacking upside will eventually come. I do not think it's going to be in this game, but eventually down the line, you will get some attacking stats out of Connor Watson. Nofafua White, he wasn't as explosive as what we were hoping for, but again, all these players were pretty poor. The guy we want to talk about that we were talking about before, look, Salasi Foketi. He's bottom dollar, 198k, got 38 points in the first game against the Brisbane Broncos. Got some decent minutes as well. He got all that basically in base and power. Played the 52 minutes last week. Bottom dollar, starts in the 13. I'm not thinking that he probably starts in the 13 week in, week out as soon as Victor Bradley comes back from his head knock. Could be potential for Su'a Wong to go back to that 13 jersey, or potentially someone else. But again, for Keddy, he killed it in the trials, killed it. I thought he was really good. Obviously, Trent Robinson trusts him a little bit to give him 52 minutes straight off the bat, off the bench. So look, if he gets the 13 jersey, he could be a little downgrade to Dimitri Varmaga. And look, I'm sort of looking at that way, hoping that Foketi gets the 13 the following week as well. But I want to have a little look at it. I think he could be a decent option. He's got a massive work rate. That's about all we've got to touch on for them. For the first of the Saturday games, Dragons versus the Rabbitohs. For the Dragons, their back seven is unchanged. Clint Gutherson at the fullback, Matthew Feagay and Christian Tuipulotu, the three try-scoring machine. Moses Sully and Val Holmes in the centres. Kyle Flanagan and Lachlan Ilias make up the bench. Look, Clint Gutherson, we've talked about him having a more predominant role in this team as opposed to what he did at the Parramatta Eels with the two halves being not as ball dominant as what we've seen with Mitch Moses and Dill Brown. He looked pretty decent sweeping out the back. He got a lot of try assists. I think Val Holmes gave him a lot more credit than what he was probably due, but jumping out the back, Val Holmes onto Christian Tuipulotu. Christian Tuipulotu, he has an absolute monopoly out on that wing spot there on the left-hand edge outside those two. It is going to come that way all day, every day for the Dragons. 552k Christian Tuipulotu. Look, he looks every bit a superstar. There's a bit of a carry on being 18 down and scoring a try, and looks like he'd won the bloody grand final, but that was a bit of a carry on. But his break even's minus 15 at the moment. He's 552k. Had an absolute whale of a game last week in a losing side as well. 128 points for him. I'd give it another week just to make sure, although they are coming up against very leaky defence in South Sydney, the wing position there for what is going on at the Bunnies there. They have Isaiah Tass and man that I think is on debut. I haven't heard of him before, but Bentley Hape. I think there's points out there. I think there's points out wide. Christian Tuipulotu could get another 3, to be honest. Clint Gutherson, like we were talking about, looked very good out wide. Val Holmes with just the 70 points. Look, I think he was unlucky. He had 3 try contributions that any one of those could have been a try assist, line break assist, and he bumps up and he could very well have got 100 points as well. So keep an eye on Val Holmes as he's going. He could be in for a bit of a year as well. The forwards, Toby Couchman, he looked really good. 60-something points at the front row forward. He's dual 2RF. I'm just a little bit sceptical because he did get 70 minutes with his brother Ryan being taken off in the 7th minute. I would want to have another look at him another week before I even trust his minutes. I don't think he's going to get 70 minutes each week. I think he's probably a guy that you could bank on getting 50 to 60 minutes, but again, 70 minutes I'm not exactly sure on. Damien Cook, Emre Gula, Luciano Leilua, Jaden Sewer, and Jack DeBellin are the 13 for the bench for the Dragons there. Jacob Little, Blake Laurie, Raymond Fatalamara, and Hamish Stewart. Hamish Stewart, very good, 40-something points. He's 198k. He, I think, benefited immensely from the Ryan Cashman brother going off with the ACL injury early on. He got 40-something minutes, so I'm not expecting that every single week, but we had him in our side as a bit of a jag. We thought, maybe he gets 25, 30 minutes. Young prop, we'll see how he goes. Got the 40-something points, 40 minutes. Look, Blake Laurie on the interchange probably cooks all that, although, again, I don't think Couchman's 70 minutes. Emre Gula, he got 55 minutes at front row as well. I was very happy to see that. He's in my squad as well, but again, I don't know if that's going to be a week in, week out thing. Just touching on Emre Gula, 331k, he looks really good. Got the 53 points in round 1, only a couple of points, a handful of points in runs, but he made 44 tackles, so he is there to work. He's obviously still trying to earn his position in the front row forward. I'm very happy with our position that we've got there on Emre Gula. Not much there to touch on the Dragons other than that. For the Rabbits, God almighty, this looks like a reserve grade backline apart from a couple. They have Jai Gray, Isaiah Tass, and that man we were talking about before, Bentley Hape on the wing. Wouldn't be touching any of those guys. Just want to have a bit of a look at them. Fletcher Myers, he comes in at the 3 for the suspended Jackie Whiten. Wouldn't be going there. Campbell Graham, look, he was decent with the 44. I think he got through a ton of work run-wise, not many tackles. He did get shafted out onto the wing there when Tyrone Munro got off after half-time, so his work rate in defence sort of petered off a little bit from what we usually see. Cody Walker, he was pretty poor in his first one. Jamie Humphries, he looks like he has won the number 7 jersey there from Lewis Dodd. Lewis Dodd is named in the reserves, although there is an injury cloud over Lewis Dodd, I believe. It doesn't have exactly what's going on there here. Apparently he is doing a bit of rehab, but again, named in the reserves. Maybe that's just a bit of an excuse to say his performance isn't up to NRL standards, which is disappointing because they've signed him for $700,000 a year, which is massive, massive overs. But anyway, can't talk about overs. The Mighty Knights just did a bit of a deal that's fair overs as well. Jamie Humphries, we'll touch on him, 305k. He is kicking goals as well, let alone the biceps. He is worth the money. 55 points for round 1. Look, if you can work it with your duels and you're looking to get rid of someone for next round for Metcalf, or if you're not happy with Duffy, I think he's a decent option. I would give it another week just to see what happens with our halves. combinations. But Jamie Humphries, we keep him in the black book. If you started with him, well done. Massive risk, but we will keep an eye on him. For the forwards, Sean Kepi, Peter Mamazelis, Dave Mawali, Keon Koloamatangi, Jayara, and Lachlan Hubner. Jaden Sullivan comes off the bench with Havili, Tallis Duncan, and Tavita Totola. Look, I think most people that went Peter Mamazelis, he ended up getting the 60-something minutes there. 37 points. I think it's decent. 37 points. All he did was tackle, no runs. That's quite concerning because that is a Wayne Bennett squad with hookers. He doesn't like his hookers running the ball much. He sort of needed to rely on Jeremy Marshall-King a little bit more because he had inexperienced halves up at the Dolphins. But I think back to what's going on there at Bunny's Land, he may just be using Peter Mamazelis as a bit of a tackling machine and shovel on the ball. So we'll keep an eye on that. There is a few options to go to in round 3 if he doesn't get any attacking stats. Not even attacking stats, but he just offered nothing out of hooker. Even when they were down on their line, he didn't send any big boys over. He wasn't attempting to send any big boys over. Any plays, he just meat and potato stuff out of dummy half, which isn't exactly what you want. But again, we sort of got what we paid for, 37 points out of him. Lachlan Hubner. Geez, he looks like a footy player, doesn't he? He looks really good. 232K. He basically based everything, the 45 points that he got. I think if you don't have him and you've got a Vaymaga sitting there, I think Lachlan Hubner to Vaymaga, I would do it this week. Got 60 minutes. The bench looks kind to him. The O'Sullivan, Havili bench. I think he'll play 60 minutes day in, day out. He looks like he's the guy there. I was a little bit worried about Tallis Duncan coming on for the 13 instead of him, but it looks like Lachlan Hubner has that jersey. That's about all we've got for them. Like we said, Lewis Dodd in the extended reserves. I think maybe that's just a bit of a see you later, mate. You're not up to scratch, and we like the look of Humphries. For the second Saturday game, Cowboys up against the Sharks. The Cowboys will be looking for a massive bounce back. There are some huge outs for the Cowboys. Some guys being dropped here. In the backs, Scotty Drinkwater, Braden Burns, and Murray Tuolagi, they get on the sting. Jackson Purdue, he keeps his centre spot for how long, we are not sure, but he's still got it. Velamaya Valea and Tom Dearden and Thomas Duffy, again, he gets in the halves position. 2 blokes there, Jackson Purdue and Tom Duffy. Do not trade them out. Give them a week. They do have a hard game up against the Sharks, so I wouldn't be starting them. I wouldn't be putting them in my squad, but again, week 1, that week 1 score, that'll fall out. That'll be the first one that does fall out. So keep an eye on what they do this week. They could be an option for a downgrade, Purdue to a Tamale or something like that, or Tom Duffy to a Jamie Humphries. He could be an option if you're looking to upgrade him. For the back, Scotty Drinkwater. Look, if you're a Scotty Drinkwater, you would have been absolutely shitting bricks at 65 minutes in there. He was on about 20, 30 points. Ended up getting a try assist to back off that game and end up getting his points up nice and around the 60, 70 mark. So, again, Scotty Drinkwater, bit of a disappointing night, but again, he's so reliant on his attacking ability. Coming up against the Sharks, bit of a hard match, but again, he's one there. If you picked him for a reason. Kicked goals in the second half as well, so keep an eye on that. For the forwards, Jordan McLean, Reece Robinson, Sam McIntyre, John Bateman, Kai O'Donnell comes in for Jeremiah Nanai. Jeremiah Nanai had an absolute pisser of a game. Looked terrible. We all know about his defensive prowess. Toddy Payton's come out and said he's going to spend a couple of weeks in QRL Cup working on his defence. There's some big headaches there because Kai O'Donnell, I rate Kai O'Donnell. He's got massive raps on him. He's relatively cheap for fantasy. Look, if he has a decent crack in that position, I think there's a world where he could potentially keep that spot, and they could use Nanai off the bench as a bit of an impact player, scoring some when they need some points. For the bench, Carl Lawton, Harrison Ford, Griffin Name, and Cohen Hess. Not a lot to write about there, but Kai O'Donnell. Keep an eye on him. He coming over from the Super League this year, he looks really good. Massive raps, like we said. He's 336k, so he's quite cheap. If he does keep that starting role, and he may get the 80, he was getting 80 in Super League there, so keep an eye on him, 336k, one to watch. For the reserves, Jake Clifford, he is actually named at 18th man, so just keep an eye on Tom Duffy. Like we said, do not start the game with Tom Duffy or Jackson Purdue. For the Sharkies, they are, as They ran out in Vegas. Will Kennedy at the back, Sam Stonestreet and Ronaldo Mulitalo on the wing, Jesse Raymond, Kyle Lero, Braden Trindle, Nico Hines. A lot of people going off Nico Hines. I've seen him traded out a little bit. I wouldn't be doing that, not against the Cowboys. We saw their defensive efforts against the Manly Seagulls. I think they'll be better up in North Queensland. But again, the Sharkies, they have got a truckload of points in them. Nico Hines didn't kick goals in their last game. But again, I still think, even if he doesn't kick goals, he is only $730K. I think you're basically getting what you paid for with Nico Hines there. I think if he's $730K, you know, if last year you were happy to pay $900K for him, last year he got up to $1.1 million. He was averaging 94 points a game. I would say 12 points on that average would have been goal kicking. So if you can get up around 82, happy days. I'd be leaving him. The next couple of weeks are going to be quite handy for the Sharks. Their run's pretty good the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't be trading him out, especially not to a Cherry Evans. I think that's a bit of a sideways move. For the forwards, Adam Fanua-Blake, those who jumped on him, paid up for him at the front row forward. You were granted a nice little try in the second half of the Vegas game. He looks really good. He looks fit. He still is going to get the 55, 60 minutes. I thought his minutes might decrease. They actually kept the same. Daniel Atkinson on the bench probably helps that. Him only coming on for a little bit and then a 3-forward rotation. They're obviously just entrusting Adam Fanua-Blake with some big minutes. Blake Brayley, Oregon Kavusi, Britton Okora, Teague Wilton, and Cam McInnes. Not a great deal going on there. The bench, Daniel Atkinson, Talakai, Hamlin Llewellyn, and Thomas Hazelton. Not a great deal going on there either. They are pretty much stock standard, the Sharkies, as we would expect. For the late game, the Raiders and the Broncos. The Raiders have got a bit of a change-up. They've got Xavier Savage. He is suspended for 1 game, and Joey Tarpanay, he's suspended for 2 games there, so they go without him. Not ideal to have those guys out up against the Broncos, who are absolutely red hot. For the Raiders, at the back there, KO Weeks, Sevilio Tamale. We'll touch on him shortly. He gets on the wing with Albert Hopewade. Timoko and Chris in the centres. Ethan Strange and Jamal Fogarty make out the halves pairing there. KO Weeks, a bit disappointing with only a 33. We did touch on it in the preseason, that his average at fullback was actually worse than what his season average was. So we did warn people about that. Hopefully he comes good. If you've gone him, he is a good dual. But again, you will never use that dual of fullback. You will never put KO Weeks in that fullback position. I'm sure of it. Tamale, he's a point of difference. Look, I wouldn't be jumping on him this week. Wait till next week. Xavier Savage will be back. It'll be interesting to see if Tamale and Hopewade, that little battle to see who does get that wing spot. If Tamale does get it and Jackson Purdue has a bit of a shocker, you actually make some money downgrading to Tamale, who's 230-something K. Jackson Purdue is 257. So keep an eye on for that. I wouldn't be jumping on him. Tough little matchup this week. I think the points will be a little bit more sporadic than they were last week. His ability to tackle bust as well. I think the Broncos' middles they will be a lot better defensively than what the Warriors' middles were. But yeah, look, he'll be one to watch. He'll be one to watch next week, I think. He has a break even of -26 already, so that's really good. 73 points last week. A lot of those points were in tackle busts and line breaks. So again, I'm not sure how many of those he's going to get this week, but again, we've got to keep an eye on him. Ethan Strange. There's a lot of people going Ethan Strange from Metcalf already. I think that's a little bit out there. He's 484K, break even of 10. That means nothing at the moment, though. The break even of 10 is sort of irrelevant because he does have another game to play. He got 89 last week, which was really good, although the Warriors were very poor. I think this game we're going to get a bit more of an indication about how Ethan Strange is going. He's got a really good running game. His passing game is quite good as well. He could flourish into a very good number 6 this year, and at 484K, he is a decent option. I just want to get another game out of him before we make any decisions, especially against good opposition. Josh Papali'i, Tom Starling, Corey Horsburgh, Hudson Young, Zach Hodgkin, and Morgan Smithies make out the 13. Corey Horsburgh, really good for owners. Mid 300Ks, dual front row forward, 2RF. Really good stuff from Horsburgh, 61 there from him. He may even get a bigger role now that Tarpanay is out. So people who have jumped on him, really good. If you haven't jumped on him, I think you should 100% jump on him this week. I think he's bound for 60 plus every single day of the week. Not much else going on there. Morgan Smithies, Mr. Meat and Potatoes himself. Hosking, it'll be interesting to see if his minutes bump up. Only got the 55 odd minutes last game in Vegas. I think that's due to fitness. I don't think he is a man that you only put on for 55, 60 minutes. I think he's 80-minute workhorse, and you leave him on there. Owen Paddy, Simi Sasagi, Matty Nicholson comes onto the bench with Adam Mariota. For the Broncos, they are 1-7, the same as what they were in their absolute mashup of the Roosters. They are Reece Walsh at the back, Cobbo and Jesse Arthurs, Gahamet Shibasaki and Dean Mariner in the centres there, Benny Hunt and Adam Reynolds in the back. Look, really good from the Broncos last week. The likes of Jesse Arthurs, who was very up and down, he had an absolute blinder alongside Gahamet Shibasaki. They just got good ball. They got good ball from Reece Walsh, good ball from Benny Hunt. Jack Gajewski runs a good decoy line, so he offers a little bit there for them as well. I think that's a little bit underestimated, how much his decoy running off Ben Hunt shores up their back line out the left-hand side. Well, it did against the Roosters anyway, but like we said, Chad Townsend, Toya, Dom Young, quite poor defensively. They have been through the trials. They were in round one, very defensively poor. So we will get back to see how they go up against a side that has a little bit more backbone, I think, in their defensive issues. Christian Tomoko, they're both good defensively. The wing position, a little bit up and down there. I'm not sure about how well Tamale and Hopewade can defend under pressure, but I think for the backs, the likes of Cobbo, Shibasaki, Arthurs, Mariner, there's still points on offer. I think there is still points on offer. Reece Walsh is electric. Benny Hunt, he was fantastic as well in his first game back for them. I'm probably going to start Shibasaki. I started Jesse Arthurs as well. I've got the pair of them. I think Shibasaki is not a glory hunter. He's not a white line fever kind of guy. I think there's every chance he gets the ball, gives decent ball to Jesse Arthurs, draw and pass sort of stuff after the space created by Reece Walsh and Benny Hunt. If Jesse Arthurs gets a try, I think Shibasaki will probably get a line break assist and a try assist as well. So I'm happy to run with both of them this week. Paddy Carrigan, Corey Pakes, really good. If you went Corey Pakes, the disappointing part was he only got the mid-40 minutes, didn't even crack the 50-minute mark, so keep an eye on that if he doesn't score a try. Just one to watch. Payne Haas, real good as well. He is one of the most traded in this week. Yep, sure, go for it. He looks like Madge has lit a fire under him. He's played him correctly how he should. It was none of this, we'll keep you out there for 70-odd minutes and absolutely just plod through. He basically said, look, mate, bust your balls for 30 and then I'll give you a breather. Come back on, bust your balls again, we'll see how you're going. Willie Mason on his Levels podcast, he summed it up perfectly. Basically, get in there and rip and tear until you're knackered, and then we'll get you off. And it's a perfect example of how Payne Haas should be played, not just Mirandering it up. The ability for him to crab walk alongside, tackle bust, and offload. He's got the arm free, which is good. Jack Gajewski, look, very good with a try. Got the 66 points, only 230k. Base was a little bit low. We sort of expected this. Not a lot of ball come his way. He will get base more in tackles than what he will in runs. If there's a bit more traffic coming his way, his runs will increase. He'll tackle 30 tackles a game. He seems to have the 80 minutes there wrapped up. Kobe Hetherington, decent as well, although the minutes weren't exactly there. Got a couple of line breaks, which was good to see. Billy Walters, Jensen, Willison, and Pia Cora make out the interchange for them. For the first game on Sunday is the Parramatta Eels up against the Tigers, the Battle of the West. For the Parramatta Eels, look, they've made a couple of changes, which they should do. They were a million miles off the jump there against Melbourne. It was very hot down in Melbourne. Maybe that's an excuse. I'm not sure. But again, Parramatta Eels, they'll be looking for a huge bounce back. For the fullback, Isaiah Yongi. Look, anyone who started with Isaiah Yongi, I did not. Points-wise, 60, 65, I think he got. Look, good. Happy days on 230k. You want a 65 points. Everyone is tooting their trumpet so much. So with that, look, he was looking quite average until a couple of junk points come on and Parramatta put their B-grade, not their B-grade side, but they gave Hughes a breather. They gave their forwards a bit more of a run than what they would. Jack Gajewski is a better buy than Iongi if that's what you want to run it off. Zach Gajewski got 66. Isaiah Iongi not in the same stretch as him, so I know that's a bit of a stretch, and I'm trying to figure out ways of how to make it look good because I do not have him. But anyway, sorry, you got a 69, so he did outplay Jack Gajewski. There you go, happy days. Just made a cock of myself. But anyway, look, I think it's good. A 69 for Isaiah Yongi. If you started with him, you've obviously spent your money elsewhere. It's good. For the backs there, Sean Russell, Will Pezzini, Zach Lomax. Jordan Samrani, he comes onto the wing for Targo. Look, Targo got absolutely fucking wailed on. I think he may have picked up a little bit of an injury as well. But again, he is out. Would not be jumping on Jordan Samrani. I think he's near bottom dollar. But again, they do have the Fox coming back. He is round 3, or he's out for 3 rounds with his suspension. Dill Brown, Mr. Bunny Bags, Ronald Volkman in the halves. Look, Dill Brown, he's got a bit going on at the moment. I'm not sure if I'd be keeping on him. Again, he was only the beneficiary of a couple of junk points. Got a couple off Isaiah Yongi. They worked together really, really well. Just in the back 5 or 10 minutes, basically, is when they got all their points. But again, 651k, his break-evens at the moment is 60. Got the 73 points. It was basically all at the end. But again, with no Mitchell Moses, he's going to be the guy that they look to in attack mode. Just a bit disappointing from Dill Brown with all this contract negotiations hanging over his head. Hopefully now that it's over, if you do own him, I would leave it another game. I think against the Tigers, if you go to 70-something against the Melbourne Storm, he could go a hell of a lot higher up against the Tigs. For the forwards, Joel Fahangawi, Brendan Hands, Junior Paulo, Sean Lane comes back into the side. That'll be a good inclusion for them. Jack Williams and Jermaine Hopgood in the 13. The big one there, Kelma Tuolagi, he has dropped out of the side completely. He's not even in the extended reserves. Look, I didn't see it to start with. It was a bit of a pipe dream, that one, I thought. But anyway, he's gone. He was hooked in the first 15 minutes for his defensive efforts. So I would be looking at trading him straight out. I think you could go the likes of a Seyfarth or something like that. Although Seyfarth wasn't overly fantastic, but again, I'll be looking to get rid of Kelma Tuolagi regardless of what happens this week. The bench is quite poor. There's nothing really going on there for the Parramatta Eels. Riley Smith, Matt Dury, he offered nothing. Katoga, he looked good in the trials, but again, I can't see his minutes getting there. And Tuivasa, he comes onto the bench there as well. Look, there's a lot of talk saying Dylan Brown can't run that squad, but I think if you look at that squad on paper, it's not a very strong squad. I think they're in for a tough old year, the Parramatta Eels. So I would be jumping off all Parramatta Eels players, apart from Isaiah Yongi and maybe Dill Brown if you've got any. For the Tigers, they get some healthy inclusions there. Jareem Buller, he comes back at the 1. It'll be handy to have him in there. Taruva and Gerald Skelton in the 5. Looks really good on the wing there. Gerald Skelton, we'll get into him in a second. Adam Dewey and Stafford Toa, he comes in. I think he had a little niggling injury for round 1, although Fatape was not too great either. He comes down into the extended bench. The halves, Lockie Galvin and Jerome Luai. Look, for a first hit out, I think a little bit scrappy. I think Lockie Galvin overplayed his hand a little bit. He sort of got a little bit more involved than what Jerome Luai did. And he's super enthusiastic, Galvin. But again, you've got Jerome Luai there, 4-time premiership winning half. I think you need to get him a little bit more ball than what Lockie Galvin is getting. Gerald Skelton, look, not in my side at the moment, but he is well and truly on the radar. Really good, 499k. He had 20-something runs last game, tackle busts. Break even of 40, which I know means not much, but a 62 last week with a try and a line break assist. The big one for me was 14 of his runs last game were under 8 metres. So maybe people are thinking 62 isn't a great score with a try and a line break assist, but again, a lot of those times that he was getting the 14 points, the 14 runs for under 8 metres, coming out of yardage, pinned down on their 10. I don't think that's going to happen every single game. Hopefully, some of those 14 points turn into double points, for the over the 8 runs. You know, fingers crossed if we can get five or 7 more of those that are worth 2 points instead of 1, you know, the score gets up around 70 and then you're more impressed with that. The second half for the Tigers was pretty average, so they didn't get any opportunity at all. Basically, in the second half, they were sort of camped on their line, and when they were going there, Galvin would come in down the left-hand side and put a little grubbler in. They just weren't running the ball as much as they should have, really, I didn't think. But anyway, all good. Terrell May looks every bit an absolute champion. Our wishes, our dreams come true with him. We were praying for 60-odd minutes. 60-odd minutes is what we got, 597k. God, just looked awesome. 78 points. Heaps of offloads, heaps of tackle busts, heaps of runs. But again, he was ball playing as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they get their attacking prowess right, where he starts to grab a couple of attacking stats closer to the line, where people jumping on him as the bigger body, and he gets a little shovel pass off. Api Coruscant, he comes back. We need to watch Api Coruscant's kicking for goal. Dewey, I think he'll keep it, but again, Api Coruscant could be a bit of a hindrance there for that one. For Nuapole, Samuel Afenu, Alex Seyfarth, and Alex Twal make out the 13. Talon De Silva, Royce Hunt with a 21. I don't know where you go from there. Maybe you look down to a Hamish Stewart if Hamish Stewart gets another 40 minutes or has a decent game. But Royce Hunt, 245k, look, I wouldn't be going there. There was question marks always about him. I thought he got 30 minutes, so I think maybe he may jump up around the 30 to 35 points per game. His points per minute should go up. But again, I think he probably is a move on, although I would leave it a week. If you can get 30 minutes again and he gets 35 points, he'll eventually gain some cash. He may just be a bit more of a slow burn than what we were expecting. Jack Bird and Sione Fainu, they make out the 17. Now, the guy we want to talk about, Alex Seyfarth. People are going to jump off him in droves, I think. Got the 64 minutes, had a head injury assessment, only the 36 points from last week. Not a lot going on there in base, although then again, he just got no attacking opportunities. He barely ran the football. It was all tackles. If he stays on for the way he was going, he probably looks at a 45 to 50 at a stretch, but easily 45 points. I think you can get another 9 points in 14, 15 minutes there from what his head injury assessment was off. He's going to play 80. He's going to play 80 week in, week out at 435k. I don't think he's worth a trade just yet. There are a couple of options there that we could go to, but again, 435k. They made him captain of the trials, so they think very highly of him. I would not be moving him on. I'd be leaving him in there. For the last game of the round, the Bulldogs, and we get our first look at how the Gold Coast Titans line up for the Doggies. 1 to 7 is exactly the same. Connor Tracy at fullback. We've got Blake Wilson and Moncello Montoya, Bronson Jerry, Stephen Crichton, Matt Burton, and Sexy Toby's Texan in there. Look, the attack seemed to click a little bit better for the Bulldogs. I think they switched off a little bit when it was 28 to 8 or whatever it was. Burton, he looked pretty good. I think if you went with him at 648k, that's a decent option. He kicking goals, got the 58, but again, scrappy first round. These halves, not many of these halves will score good points in the first 1 to 3 rounds. 58 is decent. Keep on to him. A bit disappointing that he has lost his duels, but again, he looks pretty good. I think that left-hand edge is going to be their strong side that they go to predominantly. Once they get Jacob Carraz back, I think he'll move out to there. I see a world where Blake Willison and Carraz will be the halves. I'm just not sure how that will all work out. But anyway, we'll get to that when Carraz gets back. He is apparently not too far off with his back or hip injury, I'm hearing. Apparently due back in the early rounds. He's back to training as well. So you get some Ks under legs and we'll be looking at Carraz, no doubt, in the near future. For the forwards, Max King, Reid Marnie, Saluka Fafita, Viliami Kickout, Jacob Preston, and Kurt Mann are the 13. Preston, a little bit disappointing, although he got 49 points all in base. He got the 80 minutes, which was good to see. So you're going to use Satili Tupanua in the middle. I think they'll use that with Josh Curran. The two of them will come on. They will be basically subbing out the middle forwards. I think they'll play through the guts. So I think we can lock in Preston for 80 minutes, which is the promising thing. 49 points. Look, not exactly what you wanted from him, but again, 49 points in base. I think that's a decent effort. If he can keep that around the 50, if that's his floor, then happy days. For the bench there, like we touched on, Tupanua, Josh Curran, Jamin Salmon, and Bailey Howard on the 14. It is such a weird bench. It's just 4 small forwards basically, and that's what they ran with. Harry Hayes is predominantly the lower grades. He was a center wing sort of bloke, but he's come through and they put him in the forwards as well. They played him as a middle forward, edge forward sort of guy. So look, it's a bit mind-boggling how they're going to run all that. But look, good luck to them. I think it seems to work. So why not? Why not go it? For the Gold Coast Titans at the back, we get the first look at them. And, there's some ins and outs here that are very surprising. For the back there, Keanu Kinney, he gets the fullback role, no surprise there. Aliofa Khan Pereira and Jojo Fafita at the back with Kelly and Sami in the centres. In the halves, AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell. People jumping on AJ Brimson from Metcalf, I think just give it another week. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go against a solid defensive side. They looked really good up against the Dolphins, but again, that was the Dolphins. They were quite poor defensively. I think the Bulldogs is going to be a much tougher ask. They're much better defensively. They tuned off a little bit towards the back end of the last game. I think Serrato's going to have a rocket up them for doing that, and I just think the Titans are in for a bit more of a harder night than what the Titans and the likes of what they pulled out in the trial. So I think the Titans, it's a bit more of a tougher ask for them. Jaden Campbell, I wouldn't be touching him. I think still a bit too expensive. For the forwards, Maweki Fodawaker, Sam Verrills, Regan Campbell-Gillard. He is right from that shoulder injury. He comes in to start, although I wouldn't be looking at him. Khalees Haas, Beau Fermor, Tino Fa'asumalawe. He comes in as the 13. So people who jumped on him at the start of the season, a little bit of a worry that he may have came off the bench. He comes into the 13 role, so that's good to see. It'll be interesting to see his minutes, but look, I think they need him out there as much as possible. I can see 55 minutes. I for a first run back, 55, maybe 60 at his pinch. But he looks like he is going to get more decent minutes than what he is coming off the bench, so well done if you started with him. Chris Randall, David Fafita is coming off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how they run with him. Jamin Jolliffe and Brock Gray make up the rest. David Fafita, if you... someone was asking me on our Instagram page, do I start Fafita as a bit of a pod? Sort of talked it out with being that much money to start the season. I didn't really see this coming. Although this is how they did line up in the trials. Fafita started in the first trial. Khalees Haas came in the second trial. Look, I don't know if that's going to be a year in, year out thing that they're going to run with, although Khalees Haas was pretty good in the trials there in the second row. He actually performed really good. He's attacking and running. His base, everything was up. Putting on him, Khalees Haas, 404K. We didn't even touch on him in the preseason. We never saw this coming, but... a 400k man. Look, I don't have a lot of stats on him. It's very interesting because some games he comes on and he has 6 runs for bloody 40 metres and 15 tackles coming off the bench. You know, he doesn't really have a lot of impact. But again, in the trials, he had an absolute dick ton of runs. So it'll be very interesting to see how they run Khalees Haas if they get him out there and they absolutely blow him out of the water. Again, he does have some 80-minute games last year. Played 80 minutes last year for 45 points. Again, Dogs last year got 80 minutes, 34 points. Got against the Cowboys 67, which is pretty decent. 37, these are games all 80 points. 37 points there, 55. There's nothing really that screams out that we should be jumping onto him or looking at him for an option. But again, if he has got a rocket up him, Desi says you're going to hang out on that edge, that left-hand edge there for the remainder of the season. He may be a bit of an option. The forgotten man as well that we don't talk about probably near enough is Beau Fermor. He is 2RF CTW again this year, 593k. He looked really good in the trials. Last year he was coming off an ACL injury, which predominantly players have a bit of a down year. I think we need to keep a bit of an eye on him. He could be a bit of an option that we go to if we need to upgrade one of these 2RFs if they are looking a bit poor. Anyway, that's about all we've got in for today. For our trades this week, I think we are going to hold steady. I think we will not be making any trades this week. We've got Metcalf, we've got Safehalf, we'll hold on to them. Duffy, Purdue, we've got all those guys. You can see that on our Instagram. We will keep them. We'll hope they do better in round 2, especially Metcalf. Metcalf solves some serious headaches for my side if he is right in round 2. If he gets 40 to 50, I think I'll still be keeping him just because I think he's got a lot of upside in him. He still kicks goals. We should look at keeping him. Again, we will promote the 40-20 Cup League. The league code for that, 122 155. First, second, and third prize for that one. First is 500, second 250, third merch pack. Must be signed up, subscribed, to our YouTube, or following us on Instagram to be eligible for those prizes. Righto, legends, that's about all we've got time for. We'll take care. Hopefully we'll give you a bit of insight and take it easy. Good luck for round 2. Cheers.